Welcome. This is Tampa Home Talk, and I'm your host, Katrina Madewell. Thank you for joining us for an exciting edition today of Tampa Home Talk, and I'm excited to welcome back no other than Miss Jenny Restrepo with Insured Title Agency.
Well, thank you, Katrina. What a very warm welcome. I appreciate that so much. I'm glad to be back.
Yes, welcome back to the show, official show partner of Tampa Home Talk. And as always, we have too much to talk about in a short amount of time, but we're going to do what we can to cram it all in there.
Okay, but first, if you're watching us on video, I just want to note that we did not plan this, but
we're totally twinning.
We're twinning today. Katrina and I are basically wearing matching navy dresses, which we look really cute in, by the way.
Yes,
but
we do.
We didn't plan that, so now we're just we're leaning into it.
And at the time this is recorded, it's actually Hanukkah. We'll probably drop the show in January. But.
So if we are also honoring the holiday of Hanukkah with our navy blue today.
Yeah, which my background, my history is my family is Jewish.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, when you pull up my ancestry, it shows like 35% Aztec European Jew.
That's amazing.
When I was a kid, we celebrated both Hanukkah and Christmas.
I love all the holidays. Yeah. Let's do a little bit of all of it.
When my great-grandmother was around, we did both, but that holiday has since left, and it's sad. It's a little part of my history. It's gone.
Well, I appreciate that at my daughter's school, they honor all of the different holidays, and they also honor like holiday traditions around the world.
Yes.
So they had like a parade, and then they do stuff in the class. So they talk about like how Christmas is celebrated elsewhere in the world, and then also the end of the year celebrations and like Chinese New Year, and they play the dreidel game. So they get a little bit of like a world experience for holiday traditions.
I think that cultural diversity is so good for our kids.
100%.
I'm
Awareness
glad to hear
of how other things exist in the world is only a benefit, and honoring and celebrating traditions from around the world. I think it's fun. Because everybody does it a little bit differently.
Yeah. Well, we have a lot to talk about, so
get to it.
Should we?
Where would you like to start?
I don't want to lose track of the other thing we were talking about before. You were on my good friend Brandon Rhymes show with the real estate quarterback. Give him a little plug.
Yes,
him and I have been in radio.
Shout out to Brandon Rhymes.
We've been in radio for the same amount of time. We started doing radio in 2013, both of us.
That's awesome.
Trained by the same company, both trained by Real Estate Radio Network.
Great.
And we're still friends today.
Yes. I mean, there's space for all of us. Yes. And Insured Title Agency is a partner of Tampa Home Talk, as well as the consumer quarterback.
Yeah, I love him. I need to go be a guest on his show again, and vice versa.
I'm gonna after this, I'm gonna text him. Katrina wants to come on the show.
She misses you. Can we shoot for February?
Yes, for sure. I bet he'd say yes.
Plus, I haven't seen the building where he's in. He is a totally different network than we both started.
They're in a studio now, kind of close to the airport.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, so
don't let me make that happen.
Don't let me forget about that topic, because we're going to come back to that.
If we start with the legislative session, and then we can talk about a little property fraud alert, then that will go right into our last topic. So we're teasing to it, which means that you have to stay tuned to see what this super special secret topic is.
Because it's going to be good. So this whole thing about the legislative session that's coming up, we're talking all about DeSantis' plan to eliminate property taxes. Yeah. His view is, your house should be your house. You shouldn't have to pay rent to the government, right? There's a whole bunch of things associated with that. It's interesting. I was telling you yesterday, I had lunch with Mike Fasano. He's a regular on the show, him and Tim Coet.
Wait, who's Mike Fasano for those who don't know?
So Mike Fasano is Pasco County property tax collector.
Yes.
Became very good friends with him, got to know him well. And we have like this great debate, and it's pretty funny to watch Tim. Like we do a lot of fun stuff off air, which really should be on air because it's pretty fun. I don't think we could replicate it, but in any case, it's fun. And I loved him watching it because he was like, I feel like I'm watching my parents. You guys are saying the same thing in a different way. But he was talking yesterday, not to sidebar, but really quick because it's worth it. He was talking about, and I don't have the numbers. He could tell you. We'll have him back on the show and talk about it. But he provides motor vehicle services as is required by the state from his office. And so like you go in to renew your tag, or whatever you have going on, stuff with your registration, they actually lose money on that but they don't have enough money in their budget to support that because it's such a small amount that they get from the state in order to provide that service. And if you've ever been into Pasco County tax collector, not to take anything away from Nancy because she is a friend of mine too.
Yes.
They're run very well. I know, and the population there's a lot of things that have to do with that, but it's a very well run office. And Yeah, so we had this great debate on property taxes, and I think people's concern with that is, what about our roads? What about our police? What about our fire?
What
right?
about our schools?
What about our schools? What about all of those things?
Yes.
And I think there's a bunch of ways to skin a cat, right? And so the problem is you have this pendulum that swings so far that now one side or the other, doesn't matter what side of the political aisle you are on, you're going to have these extreme things on the ballot, right? So I don't care what side you represent, or if you don't rep any side, going from having a regular tax bill and life as we know it now to no taxes on your primary home, that's a huge pendulum swing.
It very much is. So just to maybe start a little bit from the beginning. So the state of Florida has a legislative session that is 60 days long. During that live session, our lawmakers, that our elected officials, are in Tallahassee, actively working, meeting committees and proposing bills.
It's one of the busiest times in Tallahassee.
Absolutely. So I've been to, and our realtors, so our Florida realtors, have what they call the Great American REALTOR Days, where realtors from all over the state, every county is represented, go to Tallahassee and then meet with our elected officials in Tallahassee and talk to them about key things that affect home ownership and home ownership rights for our communities. And it's an amazing opportunity because our lawmakers really rely on professionals from every different aspect and industry to help educate them about the things that they're going to be voting on.
Because they don't understand. They don't have boots on the ground.
We can't expect every elected official to be an expert in every subject area that they now need to make a vote on. And so they do rely heavily on subject experts coming to Tallahassee, coming to their offices, meeting with them, presenting information. And I want to give a shout out to Florida Realtors. They do an excellent job of making things tight, making it easy to understand, putting things together, and then your realtors, so here in Tampa Bay,
but by the way, Florida Realtors does an amazing job at a lot of things.
They do.
And we've had the whole great debate about the dues and what you pay, what you don't. If it was 100% voluntarily, they would absolutely get my money every single time. They've earned it, and you can see it clearly.
Yes, I have not been a realtor in any other state other than Florida, but I would say Florida Realtors, they provide really valuable services, not just to realtors, but some of the services that they offer to realtors are a benefit to our communities. And advocacy is one of those things that I don't think realtors get enough credit for. And so it's a great opportunity to come on the show right now and talk about what does advocacy look like and what are realtors, and especially ones here in the Tampa Bay area, doing for the community. And so it's
there's a lot of agents that listen to the show.
Yes.
So if you're listening to this, and I'll give the dates in a minute, Jenny, I would highly encourage you to participate in GARD or Great American Realtor Days if you never have.
Yes.
And we were talking before the show about this legislative push, which we'll get to later, to eliminate continuing education. This is a prime example of something, in my opinion, should be required by every realtor, and it is not. But I think every realtor should be required at least once every 5 years to participate in Great American Realtor Days, and should have to study and be prepared and educate what that session is about and what are you talking about? What is the advocacy about? Educate yourself on it.
So there's so many resources, okay? You can go to our local association. You can attend a governmental affairs meeting. We have a whole dedicated team for advocacy at our local Realtor Association, which is the Suncoast Tampa Association of Realtors. But the Great American Realtor Days is open to every single realtor. Now, getting yourself to Tallahassee may be a cost that you have to incur for yourself, but I know our association keeps a couple of spots open for first-timers. So if you've never, ever been, at this point, I would say call into the show, and Katrina can get you connected to the person at the Realtor Association that can help you with getting registered and what all the details are and how you get there. But
that off-air number is 813-377-2775. If you want information on this or to check it out, just text GARD, which is Great American Realtor Days, to 813-377-2775.
Yeah, so Katrina will give you all of the information about where to get started. But then, so what is advocacy and why does that even matter? And why are realtors doing this for our community? Well, advocacy is, again, going to Tallahassee and talking to our elected lawmakers of all political parties and educating them about the bills that they're about to be voting on and what the impacts are going to be in the community. So, for example, the governor's proposed budget for 26-27 is including more funding for Hometown Heroes, which is our down payment assistance program that helps Florida first-time home buyers in Florida get into a home. So the governor is proposing to continue to fund that program, which is amazing.
Yes.
And has benefited a lot of Floridians in helping them to get their first homes. And that is something that came straight from Florida Realtors. That was an ask that came from Florida Realtors.
Yes.
And it's a constant ask that we say, please continue to fund this program because in real time, here's how many people have actually utilized that program. Here's how many new homeowners are here in the state of Florida because of this program. So we give them that positive feedback. It's not all just opinions based, but we give our lawmakers.
It's good for the community and it's a good program.
100%. So we give them that feedback. Hey, thank you so much for voting for this. Here's how this has benefited our communities. And what's great is that every county is represented when we go to Great American Realtor Days. So every constituent, every elected official is able to be touched by someone from their local area, but the talking points are the same. So it's a really streamlined message and we keep it on topic and keep it short and sweet. So we give them the highlights reel of here are the things that may come out of committee. Here are the things that you may be voting on. And here's how we would like you to vote because of, and then we show the receipts.
So do you know what the talking points are going to be for January, or is that it might be a little too preliminary for that?
I'm sure that they're already in the works. I haven't seen them released. So prior to this recording, I just looked at the latest advocacy update that came out from Florida Realtors, and they're giving sort of the highlights reel. So the legislative session does not officially start until January. So right now it's just what's being proposed and talked about that may be something to be voted on. So nothing is actually proposed and official until we begin the legislative session.
Right.
But some of the things that obviously will be discussed is property taxes is going to be probably the biggest thing to be discussed.
What days is Great American Realtor Days?
January 20th to the 22nd in Tallahassee.
Okay.
So that is when our realtor dedicated days are. And it's not supposed to be fun necessarily, but it's really fun because the realtors kind of hit Tallahassee and set up a lot of information. Then there's a big sign that says the realtors are here in Tallahassee. The building always has activities going on because it's not just realtors that are coming.
I think it's a great experience. I mean, we've been invited to the governor's mansion every time I've been there, which is only a handful. Is that the case every time or sometimes?
I think it depends. But then there's people that are very active at the state level with advocacy. So typically those are the spots for those people, but everybody gets to go to the state capitol building. Everybody gets to sit in on a meeting with an elected official from our Tampa Bay area. Both parties, or if there's anyone who's independent, all parties are represented in these meetings. And so it's not based on how you vote or who you voted for. These are the people that represent our community. And so we work with everyone. And I've sat in on many of these meetings and they really do listen and they find the information that realtors provide valuable. So it's an exciting experience if you can attend. If you can't attend, there's ways to get involved at the local level here in the community without leaving Tampa Bay that are also about advocacy and getting information out to the community, because eventually if some of these things are passed and then they come to the voters to vote on, we can do outreach and advocacy here in our local community so that the Tampa Bay area kind of knows what's going to be on the ballot and how Florida Realtors advises them to vote and provide information. Obviously, how you vote is your decision, but we provide a lot of information and resources that help to educate and inform the community about what they're about to vote on.
The one thing I do like that our local association has done, and I think this is really important, it's one thing I've noticed, and I think people should always vote this way, is they will send out before it's time to vote a list of which candidates they support. And it's not based on, I'd like to think, at least when I was involved at the association level, it's not based on a money thing. It's based on what candidates support homeownership, advocacy rights, everything that a realtor is supposed to stand for. And some of those politicians may be Republican. Some of them may be Democrat.
Yes.
I don't think it swings one way or the other, but I do like how the candidates they are recommending that you vote for, and it's just a recommendation, are because they support our livelihood. They support things that realtors stand for.
And that's a serious process as well. In order for the association to say that they support a specific candidate, that candidate will actually come in for an in-person interview with the committee that represents government affairs and public policy at the local level. And at our association, because the local realtor association represents 3 different counties, there's actually a dedicated subcommittee for each county, because we know that some issues may be statewide, but some issues are hyper local, and there are realtors that represent the interests of each individual county and community. So we've got Pasco County, Pinellas County, and Hillsborough County. And then, as you know, there's candidates that run at the state level, there's candidates that run at the local level. But before the association says STAR advocates for this candidate, they actually fill out a questionnaire. They come in for an in-person interview. The committee meets and talks about it and votes. There's lots of different realtors that can be on that committee.
You guys should stream that. You should stream not only the interview with the candidate, but you should stream the committee meeting. I think the more transparency...
You are welcome to submit that feedback to the group for their consideration, but I don't have any control over
you know how I
that.
feel. I'm just going to say it like it is. But I feel like in the day and age that we live in, more transparency is better,
100%.
especially in a membership-based organization.
And they have held town halls at our local realtor association with our both people who are already elected and people who are running, to give them a chance to talk to our realtor community about what things are important to them or what they're working on. And I've had the opportunity to meet with Kathy Castor in person. We've welcomed city council people. We've welcomed county commissioners. We've welcomed the property appraiser. And so all of these different elected positions have a great working relationship with our realtor association, and not just in election years, but throughout the year. And staying in touch with what's on their radar, what's on our radar. I do believe that the advocacy team at STAR has definitely, they are boots on the ground, and the people that are involved both at the staff level and in the committee level, which those are realtor member volunteers, they're very passionate, they're very committed, and they are very educated about what's going on in the community, and truly passionate about representing the needs of not just our profession, but our community members.
Right.
So I shout out to the realtor community that the public may not realize that this is something that they take very seriously, that they're very passionate about. And it's not about making a deal or making a commission. It's truly about serving the community. So I think that is one of the most amazing things that the Realtor Association does bring to the community, is this advocacy, because we've seen the wins. I
did a lot. I think I told you at one point I volunteered a lot at the Board of Realtors. I was on the Realtor Attorney Committee. I did a lot of stuff. As a matter of fact, YPN, I'm sure it's still a committee.
Yes.
I'm the one that headed that up and brought it to its inception, because I met with other YPN members, and we didn't have YPN in Tampa. Carol Austin was the CEO at the time. And I said, Carol, where's our YPN? She said, we don't have one. I said, well, why don't we have a YPN? So I was the one that sort of got that whole thing launched with the committee.
That's amazing. Yeah. Well, I think that what's beautiful about the Realtor Association is there's an opportunity for you. If you have a calling to get involved, there is an opportunity for you. And as Katrina's mentioning, she was involved, and then maybe her business took her in another direction, but there's always a chance to come back. So it is there for you as a resource in as much of a way as you...
YPN was needed. Like at the time that I came in, it's Young Professional Network.
Yes.
And it's specifically for young realtor members. And the average age of the realtor at that time was like 60s. and so really YPN was needed. There wasn't a lot of young people on the streets, right? And I don't know how long it's been there, but I feel like I was in my 30s when I started that. And it was funny.
And you're 32 now.
I know, right? A lot of the members that came, they thought, oh, well, we can't come to any of the YPN events because first they wanted it like under 40, and they were like, okay, great, there's going to be 3 people there. So then they're like, no, we need to like make it under 50 and then open our stuff to everybody. And so I saw it evolve.
In its current iteration, the Young Professionals Network at STAR is open to young professionals, young in the business, or young at heart.
Good.
So it's pretty much open, but I think Where YPN succeeds is partnering brand new agents with seasoned agents. So there's space for those agents that have been in the business for a while, because it creates a network and an opportunity for those people to sync up so that new and inexperienced agents can learn from someone who's a little bit more seasoned, who's been doing this for a while, because there's a lot of nuance to being.
Yeah. Jenny, the whole point of YPN was if you had a young 20-something like me, right, that legitimately started their career in this industry, you were the odd man out. Like, there was no place for you. Really, I mean, you were very
well, I'll tell you,
isolated.
So all of the groups within the group, so the groups within the association, the Women's Council of Realtors, which I've been heavily involved in the last couple of years, started because back in the olden days of the 1900s, the men realtors didn't think that women deserved compensation for their professional services. Right. So the women went out and said, that's fine, we'll just make our own group. So the Women's Council of Realtors was born out of that, and today still exists for women, business professional women and our allies. So it's not exclusive to only women, but it is a group that is dedicated to providing business building opportunities, education, training, networking, and creating your referral network for active and busy professional women.
I'm still friends with many people today that I was on committees with back at that time. And it's some really great friendships that came out of that, my time there. And like you say, sometimes life just takes you in a different direction. You go some different things. All right. So in February, when you come back, I would love to hear the high notes on what you guys actually talked about at Great American REALTOR Days. Like, what were the keynotes that we were giving to the candidates that we were approaching? Love to hear about that so we can keep our audience educated on that, and they can look for things coming up on the ballot. So let's talk about we'll quickly touch on this, the elimination of property taxes in Florida. So DeSantis wants to, so let's back up, right? Okay. So let's back up. So I've been doing this for a long time, and I feel like, back before the crash, we had a very strong real estate market, as we've had for many years now leading up to this one.
Yes.
So the season we're in right now, inflation's high, everything costs more. People are trying to figure out how to buy groceries, right? That's the year we live in right now. 2025. You combine that with storms we had the prior year. It's the perfect season for a lot of things, including Senate Bill 4D, right? The requirements for condos, which is another whole thing. It's the perfect season for this pendulum swing we have right now. So let's back up to before the crash. We had a similar season, right? In 2008, where people were having a hard time economically. Things were expensive. The market wasn't as good as it was. The real estate market was crashing. There was a whole lot of things that were going into that. And at that time, the straws, if you will, that people were grasping at were the sinkholes, if you remember. Like, people were like, oh, I'm going to win the sinkhole lottery and hire an attorney and get my house paid off for a little crack, right? So people abuse the system. Attorneys abuse the system. And that led you to what we have today. And I'm making a point about the pendulum swing, right?
Yes.
So everyone had sinkhole coverage back then. And now if you look at your homeowners policy, you probably have a sinkhole exclusion.
Probably.
Only with catastrophic ground collapse, which means your house has to be deemed not habitable by a government entity
your
in
house
order
has
to
fall into a deep, dark pit.
Well, it's not that extreme, but it is that extreme. So the point is, don't abuse it, right? And then leading up to this session we're in now, we saw other things where people were taking advantage of the roofs, right?
Yes.
So the deferred maintenance, and your roof is an item as a homeowner you have to budget to replace, okay? And now we're seeing these insurance companies making people replace them too prematurely. Again, that's a huge pendulum swing, right? And we're seeing legislative stuff which probably needed to be in place, or we wind up in the same place we were before. I think we should have different roof exclusions and depreciation and all that stuff. And they've done a pretty good job of implementing that. And so fast forward to where we are now, and this is where I'm going to pass the ball to you, Jenny, the elimination of property taxes. That's the pinch that people are feeling right now. And it's not just taxes. It's that combination of homeowners insurance going up, the rising cost of healthcare, groceries, all the things, right? So they're going to go after the biggest elephant in the room, the one that they think is the easiest to eliminate. But for every big thing like that, there's a cause and an effect, right? So it's important to understand the butterfly effect.
Okay, so where do I start?
Yeah, so I mean, I know that's hard to follow,
I got that.
but I'm just saying, like, this is how we got here,
Yes.
and I think there should have been legislation before we got here, and this was my whole conversation with Mike, is put a cap. You shouldn't have someone that has a $2,000 tax bill, the property changes hands, and now it's $7,000. I'm sorry, I don't think that's ever going to be okay. There should have been some legislation around that. I understand it's reassessing and all the things, right?
I think that what we see oftentimes is reactionary legislation instead of strategic.
That's exactly. Very well said.
And that goes both directions. We need to get a handle on how we decide what is necessary. So, for example, we talked about the housing crash. Okay, what led up to that? Well, deregulation of banking, subprime lending.
Well,
and people.
I had a huge conversation with someone about this. It's the rating agencies. That's a show that's another show, but that's the rating agencies.
It's fake. Yeah. It's fake. It's made up. It's based on what?
So I don't know. For example, that's a conversation for another day.
Okay, but we had this housing crash.
Yeah.
Okay, so because we had this housing crash, we went from an environment of deregulation to an environment of overregulation.
Agreed.
Okay, so we went from businesses can regulate themselves, do what you want, great, and then we have a crash. Cause is debatable. But now we say, oh, we let them do too much. So the government swoops in and says, now we're over-regulating that. So whenever you have
which I believe we are.
So when you have over-regulation, you start to price out smaller people from being in this market. And so less competition doesn't benefit consumers.
Right.
And so then they kind of backed off some of that. But it doesn't seem like we ever take a beat and put together a group of subject experts and let them do their smart science stuff, and then come up with a proposal and propose that this is our proposal, which is then up to the lawmakers to take this or not take this. But if we're always running around just trying to legislate to the last crisis, I don't think that we're overall addressing what could be the best needs of the community.
So it's interesting. We opened this show talking about Great American Realtor Days, and now we're here. And that might be a great talking point to take back to Florida Realtors, because on this show, we've talked about things, how Senate Bill 4D was going to be an extreme pendulum swing, right? This you have suicide cracks and boom, that reactionary legislation you're talking about.
Yes.
So we should have had, like, even people that notice the dilapidation of that building and the stuff that was being ignored, that's the kind of stuff that should be brought into Florida Realtors, and then people can say, oh yeah, we probably should talk about this.
100%. They have talked about condo legislation and the blowback of like what this new condos legislation looks like in real time. Florida Realtors has addressed this every year since that tragedy happened. And
the Sadowski Fund should be funding some of that, in my opinion. Instead of being swooped for other things, it should be helping our elderly folks and people that have been in condos that can't afford this, not pushing them out of their home.
I had a suggestion, and I shared it with Kathy Castor. So she's a U.S. congressperson, and so she operates at the
higher level of legislation. Yeah,
correct. So when it comes to federal legislation that could be impacted to benefit these situations, then you have to go to your elected officials in Washington, D.C. Mm-hmm. So she is a member of Congress at the federal level. And so I had kind of an idea. I'm like, well, if we change this and did this, then this might have a positive effect on it. So there's a lot that can be done. For me personally, the elimination of property taxes, what I would like to see is if you do away with this ability to collect funds that pay for base services of our community, like roads, schools, transportation, if we do away with collecting that money, where is the money coming from? I haven't seen that. Maybe it's on its way or it's part of the proposal, but I haven't seen how we make up the difference without now further impacting affordability for Floridians. And I personally
we have to be mindful
don't know that we can count on tourism to be the answer, because what if we have a bad hurricane season? What if there are changes in the amount of tourists that come to Florida? If we're heavily reliant on tourists to make up the difference and then they don't come,
that's a problem.
it's a problem. And at the end
But
of the
again,
day,
it's that pendulum swing, right? Eliminating property taxes on primary home is a huge pendulum swing, and there is going to be a swing back on that. So it's important to be ask those questions ahead of it to understand where we're at. And maybe there's a different idea, right? Like Mike Fasano had some really amazing ideas in terms of increasing the amount of exemption, homestead exemption, lowering the tax base, especially for first-time home buyers. So instead of taxing them at 85%, tax them at 50%.
So we already have a space for 100% disabled veterans who don't pay property taxes. And so maybe there's a couple of additional protected groups that could be addressed in that space. You know, maybe there is a break in property taxes for people that are in a lower income bracket, or if they're a single adult household, or if there are some already
widows.
For seniors.
I mean, there's a $500 exemption for widows. The exemption's not enough for seniors. I mean, that's not enough to do anything.
So there's a way to move the numbers around that is equitable. And so I want to believe that the governor has called together a brain trust of all of his property appraisers from every county in the state of Florida to give some ideas, and that they can all sit in a room and brainstorm. Like, that would be amazing. But ultimately, I would like to see legislation no longer being a pendulum swing so far in either direction. And then we have to correct it. So we go way over here, and then we have to correct it. Then we go way over there, and then we have to correct it again.
And it's more work.
It is more work, and I feel like the burden then falls on individual people who are just trying to pay their bills and make it every day.
Yeah.
So maybe let's take a beat and be strategic in our planning and legislation.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's an important part of the whole thing, of all of it. We probably should move on a little bit from the legislative stuff.
Let's go.
So
we're not going to solve all of these problems today, but it's now. If you leave this conversation with just wanting to Google something and learn more about it, then I feel like we've been successful.
Yeah. The your deadline to file homestead exemption, March 1st.
Yes.
I love to re-mention that every time we're on the air.
Please do. And that is that is for purchases within 2025.
Right.
So if you close on December 31st, you're in. If you close on January 1st or later, even though it feels super early, it's not till 2027 for you.
And that could be advantageous for you. I will tell you, if the seller was in their property for a very long time,
you win on that year for sure.
Wait till January to close. It'll be advantageous for you.
Yes, right. You have a whole year. Whatever year you close in, you will be paying the property taxes of the departing party. So the current
taxes are paid in arrears.
So whatever they're paying, you pay what they're paying. So now, if you're that 100% disabled veteran, you're not going to be able to apply that to your situation until the following calendar year. But then it will be in place for that year and then going forward.
So fraud alerts.
Yes.
I mean, we talk about that every show because I think it's important to mention it. You always have the best stories every time we meet. So I'm just going to ping that ball over to you because you'll do a way better job. You're like in this like female Inspector Gadget.
I am a crusader against property fraud.
Yes, you are.
Well, okay, so property fraud alerts are the free, and I'm saying free, service offered by the clerk of the court for whatever county your property is located in. And all you have to do is go to their website, register your name or the name of your business. I highly suggest you provide a telephone number. They do not send you unsolicited text messages, but if anything is recorded in either your name or your business name, you will receive a text notification that it's been done versus an email that could get lost in your spam filters.
Which is good. So good.
And why is that an important thing that you should care about? Well, step one to stealing title of your property,
which we talked about an entire show.
Yes,
you will put that in the notes.
You can go back in the history of Tampa Home Talk and find my name and know that I've talked about this in detail before. Yes. But highlights reel is if you own your property, live in your property, have a mortgage on your property, some fraudster can still come in and record a fraudulent deed and take all of your ownership rights, transfer it from you to whatever they want, some fictitious name, their government name, some fake company, whatever. But that is step number one. So if you get a notification that day something's been recorded, you are way ahead of them in their efforts to commit fraud because you are now able to put a pause on it and address it before they can get to step number 2, because they don't want a piece of paper saying they own your house. They want to be able to either
get money,
pull out equity, get a fake refinance on it,
it's
or
money.
Sell it to an unsuspecting third party.
Yeah, I've noticed, and you probably noticed, the clerk of courts have done a great job implementing some additional things.
Yes.
Like witnesses.
Yes.
And their addresses.
And that started as a test program from the state level. They picked a couple of counties. I believe Levy County was one of them to start with requiring additional witnesses. And they started this program. They got the research, and they found that requiring ID for additional witnesses, so not just a signature, but having the title company or the notary take a photocopy of that person's identification as well. They are starting to put some safeguards in place, but keep in mind, you can't make something illegal if it's never been done before.
Right.
So there's a process to it. Fraudsters come up with a brand new crime. They start committing this crime. Law enforcement becomes aware of it, but law enforcement can only enforce laws that exist.
Right.
Then we have to loop in the lawmakers and make them aware that this is what is happening.
This is a real thing.
It is really happening, or it's happening too much in our communities. Now we need you to come in and create laws.
We don't have that in the books yet, do we? Is there something I
Title
missed?
fraud is not
on there
a
yet.
Crime in name. So I think I've made this example before. If you steal someone's car, it's grand theft auto.
Right.
If you steal someone's house, the police are not going to come arrest you and charge you with title fraud
because it doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist. But there's workarounds, and there are chargeable offenses as relating to financial crimes. Scheme to defraud is what Michael Bogstad was charged with, who was the fraudster that was finally arrested by the Pinellas County sheriffs and taken to court. He pled guilty, but he was charged with scheme to defraud, which is a financial crime, which fits, but because
for Great American Realtor Days, we got to get some of these people that we know have been impacted by it and bring them in, because this is an important part.
Katrina even had somebody call into the show with a real situation.
We had him as a guest. We caught the fraud. I tracked down the real person, let him know. He actually ended up leaning his own property, was what his attorney recommendation they gave him, so that people couldn't steal it. It was vacant land right by the river in Tampa, and people were trying to take it.
And that gentleman, I think this was his second go around with someone trying to fraudulently list the property, represent themselves as him.
And he had a very common name.
And he had a common name. So, there are, right now it feels very grassroots. People like me, people like Katrina, who have a platform and going out into the community and just trying to spread the message as much as we can. But think about identity fraud. When that first started happening, people were like, oh, no one can be me, I'm me.
Yeah.
Lo and behold, yes, they can. And now at a national level, there are products that monitor your social security number, lock down the ability to open credit cards in your name, and all.
But we're not there yet. I wish we were.
But also, your social security number is a federal thing. Your title is a state level thing.
Right.
And so who you go to and who we need to address it, what, when, and where. With title fraud, it's really Tallahassee. It's our state level legislators that need to get in there.
Hence guard.
Get in there and make title fraud specifically a crime.
I think that's a huge one that should definitely be on the talking points for Florida realtors if it's not. But that should. But I think we need more time, right, to get on that runway.
Well, there's an advocacy part of the Florida Land and Title Association as well.
Good.
So, and there's a advocacy arm of the Florida Association of Mortgage Professionals. So each sort of area of the real estate transaction also has their own association, also has their own advocacy arm.
If they're all talking about it, though, it'll get their attention.
I mean, I would love to see them kind of sync up on the talking points, at least ones that cross all of us, because lenders are being defrauded as well. If someone steals title and then they try to do a refinance or take out a mortgage,
think about what a big deal that is.
As well.
You have an older person that's in their property, and now they're being evicted out of their own home because their title was stolen. Well, that could happen.
The gentleman. So I went on our local news, which is WFLA, with Shannon Bankin, so Better Call Bankin. And I went on the local news with her, and she interviewed a gentleman who He owned his home in his name and his father. His father passed away. They were senior and junior.
Mm-hmm.
And then this fraudster came in and recorded a fake deed, stealing title to Junior's home, who was living in this home. And he found the name because of the obituaries.
Mm.
And so he thought, well, oh, look, this name, this person died. And so no one has this home. His comment, no one was going to come looking for it. But in fact, this gentleman lived in the home and he built it himself.
That's terrible.
So it can happen to anyone. And luckily, that actually came through our title office. And one of our amazing processors caught it. And so that one did not move forward and got reported right away. But who knows if that probably didn't stop this fraudster in his tracks.
Yeah, it's interesting, too, because you and I have both also talked to some of the federal or the investigators, at the local level that have quickly educated themselves on title and trying to understand the crime and what's going on and how the heck do you even prosecute this, right?
Well, this is where we need a straightforward, this is the law, title theft is a crime. These are the criteria of what meets the criteria of title fraud, so that our state's attorney's offices, our law enforcement detectives and investigators have a blueprint of what to follow and how to charge it.
Well, and someone's been arrested, so that's a good step.
Yes. Someone being charged with a crime and actually being prosecuted and seeing this person brought to justice, step number one, thank goodness. And I think another one that Katrina talked to, that this person stole the house in his government name, so he was pretty easy to track down that he committed the fraud, but that person was also arrested. So that we are moving
forward. There's some case law on it.
We're moving forward. There's some precedent. It is happening, but for the community to be aware of is this is happening. It is a real thing, and the best way to protect yourself is to sign up for a free service.
Yep. It's right. So it's right. It's on the tax collector and the property appraiser
site. So just Google property fraud alert, enter your county.
Yeah.
You'll find that website. They have great directions as to how to get signed up. If you run into any trouble, of course, contact the show.
Yeah. 813-377-2775. Again, 813-377-2775. I will always help you with this.
Yes. Katrina is obviously very educated about how this works, how to get signed up. Someone from her team will help you. If you still have some trouble getting enrolled, they will certainly help you and make sure we can even, if you contact the show, Insured Title Agency can do a quick title check for you to ensure that everything looks good and as it should be right now today. And then that notification keeps you protected for the future. Because I don't think we mentioned on this show, your homeowner's insurance does not protect you. Your owner's title policy that you got when you purchased your home does not protect you.
Yeah, your title insurance that you're thinking doesn't protect you.
Does not protect you from anything that happens to your title from the day you bought it into the future. It only protects you from something nuts coming up in the past.
I'm surprised insurance hasn't jumped all over that.
Well, you don't need no insurance. You just need to go ahead.
But think about it. You're right. But you and I are extremely well educated on that. Yes. This is a super foreign concept for most people.
I mean, I maybe what we see in the future is just like if you go to the DMV, they ask you, are you registered to vote? Would you like to register to vote? There's systems that talk to each other. Maybe we can see in the future that same thing. Oh, would you like us to enroll you in property fraud alert?
Oh, that's a Mike Fasano.
Get the word out to the community. There was another story on Channel 10 News, and they said 1,500 people went and signed up that day after seeing the story on the local news.
Good.
So it's all happening. The resources are out there. We just need to do the most in educating the public, because if everybody's enrolled and protected, then these fraudsters are going to have to move on, because the crime cannot move forward.
Again, it's so new. Most people can't wrap their brain around how it works. You and I understand title and real estate at a high level, which is why we do. But I think about the poor general consumer that they do something else and they don't understand this wheelhouse.
Well, and they're going after people who own property in Florida but don't necessarily reside in Florida.
Yeah.
So we can be
the
boots on the
ground.
Yes.
Yeah.
We can be boots on the ground here and getting the word out to our community here. We could be having local events here in Tampa Bay, but we need to be able to push out this messaging to people in other states or even maybe in other countries and in other languages.
Yeah, I think it's one day we're going to look back and say, remember the good old days when nobody understood title and deed fraud? And we're like, yeah, it's solved. It's going to be a while, but we look forward to that.
Yes.
All right. So to put a bow on the show, let's divert into our next.
Okay. So if you stuck around because we hinted at something, then coming off of property fraud and into our next topic, in the news, Tampa is leading the country in foreclosures, which is a sad state of affairs because I feel like the most impacted probably consumers that are facing foreclosure are our seniors. We kind of touched on what's going on with condos, and when you're on a fixed income and your assessments are going up to $1,000, $1,200, $1,500 a month from $400 a month, how do we make all of these numbers work, and like what is the answer and where does the relief come from? So
Jenny, did that data come from Florida Realtors? Where did the information in the study come from when you guys saw that Tampa was leading the nation in foreclosures?
I saw this as a Forbes article.
It was Forbes. Okay.
Yes.
And did they cite that back anywhere else? Because Florida Realtors does a good job tracking that kind of stuff. And I would be curious to know how many of those are condos compared to single family, compared to whatever.
I'll take that as my homework assignment.
Yeah, okay.
I'll come back with this data next time. I didn't see how that foreclosures broke down like amongst population or property types.
You've seen the reports, right, that Florida Realtors does?
Yes.
I mean, they're amazing. The data in there, realtors don't look at it enough. I look at it all the time. And I wish it was sooner. So if you're connected with Florida Realtors, tell them from someone that looks, I'm a data nerd that looks at this, please publish it sooner.
And there's also great reports available through our local association that focus on our local counties. And then there's something called Sun Stats, which all Florida Realtors have access to, that can give you quick level stats. But those are usually about a month and a half behind because obviously they have to put all the data together and then put it all together in a nice
That's what drives me nuts because it's like around the 22nd of the month, they'll drop it, right? So
Katrina
December.
wants to know
But
right now.
I mean, think about it. December 22nd, 23rd probably is when they'll drop it. But that's just now giving us the November numbers. But December is almost over. So, it drives me nuts.
There is going to be a lag time in the data reporting because first you have to have the data, then you have to compile the data. And I'm not a data nerd.
But we're in the day and age of technology, man. Speed this up.
I mean, maybe there's an AI or an algorithm for that. You could give them your feedback on that.
I will. But they do a good job with the data. I just wish it was sooner because I love to report it.
For sure. But regarding foreclosures, the reason that I wanted to bring that up on the show is that if you are facing foreclosure, or let's say a foreclosure action has already been filed against you, all hope is not lost. And as realtors, and I was discussing with a colleague, a lot of people assume that so Liz Pendens is the legal document that gets filed to start a foreclosure action. But obviously there's warning signs leading up to that. But if you're at that moment where now either your homeowners association or your mortgage company is serving you a Liz Pendens, then that is your notification that they intend to move forward with a foreclosure action. But all hope is not lost. So this is the message I wanted to end the show with is if you are facing a foreclosure, if because of the lack of affordability is affecting your ability to pay your mortgage payment, but you have equity in your home.
It could be a death. You don't feel like dealing with that if you've lost your spouse. Trust me, I know.
Listen, if two people were paying the bills and now one person is paying the bills, or if you're a senior and you're facing rising assessments, the main thing is if you have equity in your home, that is your equity. You built that equity, you grew that equity, that is your investment. And so you do owe what you owe to your mortgage company or your homeowners association. But if that money can be satisfied from the sale of your home and then you can depart the property with some money in your pocket, there is help for you. All hope is not lost. And so that is the message I want to say is, again, call Katrina, call the show, because we were just discussing before the show, she's super educated and experienced in these situations, difficult situations, probate situations, foreclosures, short sales. Do not Google this. Don't talk to your friend of a friend. Don't talk to some person who is recommended by some person. This is a serious situation. You need to talk to someone who's experienced and educated. And so this is a moment in time. Do not put that mail to the side because it's sad and depressing. I need you to open that envelope. I need you to deal with this issue.
Put your big girl or boy panties on.
We, another topic we talked about before the show, we're all out in these streets dealing with difficult stuff.
Yeah.
Every single one of us. And it doesn't make one person's struggles bigger or smaller than another person's. But this is something where it hurts my heart to know that someone is not only losing their home, but losing their equity, because that's the money that could take you to the next place. And I actually have a real life example. If you would.
Let me give you 2 points on that before you move on that are really important. The number of people that I've encountered in my career that don't understand that the HOA can actually foreclose on your property. That's a big one, right? Yes. So, and you file list pendants. Like, it's really important to understand not only when they file that list pendants, if they get through the whole process, and they will, they can take your property, even if it's free and clear.
Yes.
That's a big one. And the second thing is, don't wait until you get the list pendants. Like you said, open the mail, because the second you get the list pendants, now you're going to have attorney's fees, interest, a tight timeline, and it's scary. You probably just got served by a sheriff, and it's scary. I get that, and I don't want you to have fear of that. I know how to dissect that and break it down, and I can help you. Even if you don't have money, like Jenny said, don't walk away from your equity. So I'll give away an off-air number and then jump back to you. 813-377-2775. Call or text, and we will help you through this, answer your questions, connect you with an attorney if you need it. 813-377-2775.
And that call to the show, that reach out to Katrina and her team, that doesn't cost you anything.
No.
So they're not attorneys, and they can't give you legal advice, but they can certainly give you a framework, some real estate advice, a framework of where to get started. And if you don't even know if you have equity in your home, this is the person that she just said she loves the data. Yeah. So you can get in touch with the show. Let us know what the situation is. Katrina can take a look and see what, if any, equity you have. And also, Insured Title Agency can take a look at your title, see what you've got going on there, if you've incurred any other liens or stuff. And we can give you a full picture of how do I save my home rather than losing it.
We'll help you figure out a next plan, right? Like where you're going to go.
For sure.
I get 3 to 5 calls a week. Hey, I couldn't sell my house. Can you help me? We're good. That's the market of the moment right now. So.
Yes.
All right. I look forward to our next show. We never have enough time to talk.
We talk about so many things.
All right. Off air number 813-377-2775. If you want to connect with me or Jenny, I'm happy to get you guys connected. Love where you live, or we'll fix it. Welcome home.